If this comes across as too naive, then please let me know. But I think when you look at a lot of legacy media outlets, the Los Angeles Times prior to your purchase of it, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the major networks, and even the legacy cable outlets like CNN, they're moving in the wrong direction in terms of share of audience. People are not tuning into CNN as much anymore. They're cutting the cord. They're not reading the Washington Post. But you purchased the LA Times. Jeff Bezos purchased the Washington Post. Is that the future? Like, in other words, does it take somebody to come in and say, we're going to look at completely reconfigure what the definition of a news platform is? Is that the future? Because it seems to me is that if somebody doesn't come in and rescue a lot of these places, they're just going to slowly but surely go away.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, because very much like even Big Pharma and and even making movies and animation and newspaper, they've not evolved with the technology. So I'm a technology junkie, from all the way to building my own semiconductor chip, believe it or not, to running fiber infrastructure, to looking at healthcare, is that if you don't take advantage of today's current technology, where you can reach millions of people around the globe on a global basis. Look, I did one tweet, and I just went back to X again, and I did a tweet on, I supported Bobby Kennedy. It got 31 million views. Now, I don't know how many networks get 31 million views in one tweet.
No.
And that says to me, wait a minute, here's a way of reaching an audience if they actually want to hear this. I'm now, when I write papers, I don't know how many journal articles I have, whether it be New England Journal of Medicine and Nature and etc. And maybe, 1,000 people, 2,000 people read it. I've started to write on X articles, long form articles. I don't know if you realize, you go to X, there's a thing called article. So every Friday I write maybe 2,000 words with links. I got 100,000 views,
which is more than cable outlets get.
And so what I'm trying to say is, you're right. If you integrate technology and stuff that's of interest, and then authentic and honest, and people will view that. So that's the platform we're going to create. And what's exciting, has taken me 5 years to go build that. Why has it not happened? It's because there are so many entrenched people in their old ways. And I'm not making this in a pejorative sense. The newsrooms have lived in the old newspaper world for 30 years. It's very hard for them to change. But you have to respect them. And I do respect them. You have to respect the integrity of wanting to do investigative reporting. And it may take 2 or 3 reporters 6 months to go do a story. And that's okay, but it's not a viable business model. While you have to create a different business model. So I think this next platform has to be a financially sustainable, growing business model, not for the sake of money, because without money, there's no money, no mission. That's what the nuns taught me. No money, no mission. Right. So this is where we're at.
All right, I want to switch topics, because you talked on healthcare, and this is really your bread and butter. And I'm going to start with probably the most naive question, but I think it's what a lot of people wonder. With AI and technology and science, etc., why haven't we cured cancer?
I asked myself that question, Sean, as you know, when we first met in 2016, and sadly we spoke about your dad then, and my life has been around pancreatic cancer, and I decided, crazy as I am, to go after the most difficult cancers, whether it became pancreatic cancer and glioblastoma. And it's taken me 30 years to figure out actually what's happened if we've not cured cancer. Just like the newspaper that's entrenched in the ways with assumptions that we assume are correct. And in fact, if the assumptions were wrong, and it's now powered by very powerful forces, whether it be big pharma, whether it be academia, whether it be NIH, whether it be even the FDA, and say that these are the forces that we want to perpetuate, we will never win the war on cancer. So let me explain to you what I've discovered. And it's not about what I have discovered, and that's why it's so difficult for me. It's what's taken me 30 years to evolve in my thinking, and my job now is to take that evolution of thinking to the entire country. And this is what I've been thinking. You, as you sit there, and I, as I sit here, have in our body a cell that God gave to us 460 million years ago. 460 million years ago. That cell is called the natural killer cell. It was only discovered in 1970s. I wrote my first paper on it in 1990. It dawned on me that is the cell that's sitting in your body that God gave us so that human beings could survive infection, so that human beings could survive cancer, so that human beings can survive trauma. And guess what we've been doing with our wrong assumptions?
Please tell me that we're not trying to attack it.
Well, we're destroying it. How are we destroying it? With high-dose chemotherapy. How are we destroying it? With radiation. How are we destroying it? With steroid therapy. How are we destroying it with drugs like Temodor? How are we destroying it even with checkpoint inhibitors? So how do I take on the forces that are not only getting these same therapies approved through the FDA, funded by Big Pharma, pushed through academia, huge revenue, billions of dollars of revenue surrounding this therapy, and painful suffering of anybody getting chemo, radiation, because it destroys the very cells that are designed in your body to protect you from cancer. Now you have cancer, you get one dose of radiation, one dose. It knocks out these natural killer cells and it doesn't come back for a year. So my job is to unleash this, just like we're talking about media, this thinking in the nation. What's exciting, now this is why this is exciting. Nobody's ever figured out how to activate your body as the factory. Nobody's ever figured out if you give you one jab, and Tucker Carlson called it the bioshield. And it unlocks these cells in your body so they proliferate and protect you from cancer until now. 2024, we got that approved. As a consequence, we have bladder cancer patients free of disease 10 years out. So this president, only because of this president, could move it forward so the entire nation and the world could have this for all treatments of cancer. You and I know we can do this offline during the Biden administration, both between the COVID treatment, the vaccine for the COVID treatment, and this therapy was blocked. We unblocked it despite the fights like the last 3 or 4 months of 2024. And we're now on the verge, complete verge, of identifying and treating long COVID, treating HIV, treating sepsis, and treating cancer. That's a conversation for a long conversation. And that's what I'm going to try and do over a series under Cancer Decoded.
So, God, there's like 18 questions that just came out. The first one is, because I need to make sure I say this, so I want to follow up on the government piece of this. But first and foremost, I want to make sure that my non-science medical self just heard what you say, which is if I develop cancer and I go to a normal oncologist, they're going to say, we're going to put you through radiation and chemotherapy. And instead of helping me, that's hurting me.
Not only is that hurting you, finally, at this ASCO 2025, which is the largest collection of oncologists in the world in Chicago just last month. They finally recognize that that's what's happening. Finally, there's a paper that just got published that if you get radiation, you actually induce metastasis. It's taken 30 years for people to accept that and open their eyes. And they then say, oh my God, if only we have a treatment to prevent that. Thank God that treatment got approved in 2024 by us, which actually shows it protects your natural killer cells during radiation.
So if God forbid someone that I know myself got diagnosed with cancer, what should they do instead?
Sadly, what happened, after I did the Tucker Carlson show, we have now almost 10,000. 8,000 immediately request desperate people for this treatment. I said, this is not possible. In my Los Angeles clinic, I can't manage the 8,000. If it was all available, I want to put this throughout the nation. So I went to the FDA and I asked for what I call expanded access. And happily, they gave me the expanded access. And I'm meeting with the FDA next week to say, how do we make this available to the nation? It should not be just flying to Los Angeles. When I was in Riyadh in Qatar with the president, the Qataris and the Saudis want this now. And they said to me with a great commitment, we will make this approved in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. I don't want Americans to fly to Saudi Arabia or to Qatar for this treatment. I want Americans to have this no matter where you live. I want it in rural America. I want it in Pennsylvania. I want it in Utah. It needs to be available to Americans. And that's what I'm going to make, a discussion with the current FDA now. The president recognized that, and some of the conversations I had with him, when I went up to see him again after all these years, as you know, during that time, we'll get into that discussion we had at Bedminster at some point. But he recognized the opportunity to have this bioshield available for the nation to protect us from radiation, protect us even from bioterrorism, from infection, from dirty bombs. So this is the first countermeasure protection for the nation.
So here's what I don't get. We as a country, we've got the NIH, the Cancer Institute, private colleges and universities with medical schools. Why isn't that, like, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they recognizing this? I cannot get through my head why, if your goal is to help and heal people or to be a research scientist, that you're not embracing this and this isn't a bigger deal. And so where is the problem? Like, what is it? The government? Is it research? Is it big pharma? Like, what's doing this?
It's embedded dogma. Literally, number one. Number two, if you recall the cancer moonshot when Vice President then Biden asked me to look after Bo and come to see him, and sadly Bo passed away because he was treated not by us but by a different institution, and then we came to Walter Reed, and then we started the cancer moonshot. And that's going to be a discussion maybe for another show, Sean, where I will sadly have to reveal and expose what happened during that entire 4 years, where basically I was canceled.
Yeah.
And thank God I had the resources and the time. Do you realize I've not received, and thank God, one dime of government money to do what we've done? And we built it, pursued it, spent billions for my children, for me, for you, for your family, for the common good, because I wouldn't let politics block this. So there'll be another show which I'll explain the politics of what happened between Francis Collins who was the mastermind of the politics. And as you know, during the time when I was with you and with President-elect Trump and Tom Price, we were talking about how innovation needs to flourish
Yep.
and not the old guard and the old deep state. And
I,
unfortunately, Francis Collins survived all the way through that and then through Biden. So the what's and the whys and the motivations of people, I don't understand. All I am about as a doctor and a scientist to say, I latched onto this idea in 1990 as a surgeon at UCLA, trying to treat a patient with pancreatic cancer and trying to treat a patient with a pancreas transplant, which I was doing both. And it's been a dogged pursuit of just pure stubbornness, but it's not been easy because I had to go fight against the major academic centers, the major cancer centers, the major pharma. There's no major pharma involved with what I do, no government entity involved with what I do, because I'm trying to fight against dogged, entrenched dogma. Thank God, in 2025, for the first time, two posters, one from Oregon State and one from Dana-Farber, showed for every 10% drop in these natural killer cells, there's an increased mortality rate of 48%. Think about that. For every 10% drop in patients. And guess what the conclusion was? If only there was a treatment for this. Without real...
I mean, but is government the problem?
It's like asking... It's not fair to say just government, but government is the problem. And thank God, with this, hopefully with this administration and this FDA and this HHS, where truth and science is what really matters, rather than politics and power and retained power, we'll make this happen. And as you know, there's been a big change in the FDA. There's a big change in the NIH. And I'm just very hopeful. My meeting in Washington is next week.
Elon Musk was asked to lead Doge, and I think was probably one of the most effective things that happened in government, just at the very least exposing the waste and inefficiency. If President Trump said, Doc, I need you to lead the cancer, I don't even want to call it the moonshot because it's branded, but I need you to come into government, utilize the resources of government and cure cancer. Would you do it, and could you do it?
Does that sound like deja vu?
Yes. Yeah. We may have had this conversation.
In 2016. So let's expose that. So he'd asked me that in 2016. And I said, well, I'm not only flattered, I want to thank him, but let me stay outside, because obviously I didn't understand Doge at that point. Let me stay outside and really do what I'm doing to create this cancer treatment that will cure cancer. Now that we are actually there, now that it's approved in 2024, and if he asks me to come in and actually make this happen for the next 6 months for the nation, that would be a moral duty for me to say yes.
Well, I will do my part to get him to ask the question then. I mean, look, the work, I just, obviously I didn't take science in college, but what you are doing to bring hope and comfort and a solution to this horrible, horrible disease is just remarkable. And I thank you for the contributions that you've made to media, to the landscape of this country. It's amazing when I look at you, you've been so successful, but you've then turned around and used it to give back in so many ways, not just financially, but your research. And so thank you for being with us today. Thank you for everything that you've done for the country and for medicine. I think I cannot, of all the things you've done, what you're doing in the field of medicine to bring a cure to cancer is something that I don't think people fully appreciate at this time, and hopefully will as time goes on.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for the kind words.
You bet. Thank you, Doc.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.